Hi, I'm Ivan Katz, host and producer of Sports Car Magazine. Today on the show, we'll be navigating through a Ferrari and Jag rally held at Ferrari of Washington. We'll be meeting the tuning company Autothority and lapping Summit Point in their 330 RS and M3 cars. We'll also be following the Porsche Club and the Ferrari Club to Summit Point Raceway, and we'll be taking a look at the new Jefferson track. We'll also be attending the American Lancia Club Reunion in Blackwater Falls State Park, West Virginia. So come along for the ride with us on this episode of Sports Car Magazine. It's always a pleasure to spend a nice day driving a responsive sports car through twisty, scenic roads. But when the mode of transportation is a Ferrari or a Jaguar, and the gathering place is Ferrari of Washington, well, that's a prancing horse of a different color. And in the case of Ferrari of Washington, that horse is usually red. The occasion was a joint Ferrari and Jag rally. A rally is an event where the driver and navigator follow a predetermined route seeking the correct path, and some answers to some pretty vague questions. The Ferrari of Washington showroom featured the front-engine 456 GT, the F355 Berlinetta, and the 512M. The 456 GT features some retro features that harken it back to the classic Ferrari Gran Turismos, such as the famed GTO. The F355 also exhibits some of these attributes, especially the rear-end brake light design. Since the dealer was officially closed for the weekend, customer cars were packed tight into the shop area. This competition 250 GT short wheelbase, manufactured from 1959 to 1962, is one of only 175 examples. Amongst the many Ferraris was a beautiful Alfa Romeo Giulia predecessor to the 2600 and a Maserati Ghibli. The Ferrari F40 was, and is usually, one of the most imposing cars. With its bred-for-speed stance, it's a treat from any angle. This 348 Challenge car was receiving attention between races with its engine removed from the chassis. And what better way to get to the races than own your own Ferrari trailer? It offers sharp contrast to the handling characteristics of what it was designed to carry. After a driver-navigator meeting, attention shifted to the start of the rally. The cars were lined up for the staggered start, which is traditional of rally races. It was exciting watching so many beautiful cars engage in the rally. In a rally race, you must drive at your own pace to try and find your way and arrive at your destination exactly on time. Some drivers, however, seem to be content just driving on the scenic route.
Okay. No, we're just talking pictures and where we're going to be at the end.
This is great.
Okay.
We're having a good time.
Good.
Yeah, we really are.
I'm glad here. You got the top down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's great.
Enjoy it.
All right.
See you. See you later.
In a rally, you never just idly follow the car ahead of you. You must navigate the course on your own to be sure. Some cars wound up a little lost for a time, but usually managed to backtrack to find the correct route. The weather perfectly suited the sleek Jaguar Roadsters. At the end of the day, no matter how the drivers placed in the rally, it was another fond memory for all who participated. When speaking of aftermarket tuning shops, names like AMG, Roof, and other European tuners immediately come to mind. Well, we don't have to cross the Atlantic to get extra performance out of our cars. Autothority, located in Fairfax, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C., offers many high-performance upgrades for sports cars ranging from the Acura NSX to the Porsche 911. I had the pleasure of driving their answer to the Euro-spec BMW M3, Autothority's own 330 RS. Engineer Mike Keska street tests the cars to fine-tune the engine and suspension modifications.
Other modifications included stiffening of the steering, tighter limited slip differential, and full suspension development, spring shocks, and sway bars. All this was tuned on various racetracks around the country, and this car was featured in Auto Week magazine and also Car and Driver magazine.
Sports Car Magazine joined Autothority on a test day out at West Virginia's Summit Point Raceway. Mike gave me a great tour of Summit Point's 10-turn, 2-mile course.
Now we're on the straightaway. We're traveling about 100 miles an hour. I'm going to get on the brakes early so we don't lose the camera. Turn 1 is a very hard right-hander. It's got 2 different surfaces, concrete and asphalt. And we're going to take it at second gear, about 55 miles an hour. We go in and we're going to hug the asphalt out and get on the concrete patch because it has more grip. We're going to go exit a 2 on the outside of the track, go into the track out, put a wheel off and jump back on. Go to the right side of the track and dive into turn 3. It's a very hard left-hander. We'll go into third gear, about 80 miles an hour, and then we go. Jump up on the curb, get the car loose, straighten up, and track out. Turn 4 is a very hard right-hander. If you take it right, it's still a straightaway. We're going to take a quick break here, set up for the turn, and dive in on the right. Hug up on the curb, and dive to the left side of the track to get into 5. It's a very hard left-hander. Second gear, very slow, 30 miles an hour. We'll track out to the outside of 3, and go into 5, and shoot across. 5, 6, and 7 are all one combination. It's what we call the S's. Go to third gear, and turn left into 7. Get loose, hard right into 8. Hit the bump, go to track out, shift up to 4th. 9 is under the bridge, it's kind of a straightaway, then you're hard on the brakes under the bridge into 10. It's a hard right-hander, fastest track, 100 miles an hour. Get a little loose, straighten up, put the power down and correct out.
Race driver Art Koya also brought along his Autothority-tuned M3 for some track testing. Art told me why he chose Autothority to fine-tune the performance of his M3.
In the car, we actually reprogrammed our own chip, and we ended up getting about 25 to 30 horsepower just with that modification. And then after that, we decided to put some new cams in the car, and the reason why I went to Autothority for that is because they have a pretty top-notch engineering staff there, and they were actually able to blueprint the cams that went into the car, so this is something that only they could do.
The racetrack is definitely the greatest place to test a car's handling limits. Sometimes the car's limits can be pushed a bit too far. In between laps, Mike would adjust the suspension to attain the optimum setup. After many laps and a few adjustments, Art and Mike had achieved the perfect balance for his Autothority M3. Sports Car Magazine also met up with the Porsche Club at Summit Point Raceway. It was a great day for hot laps and informative high-performance driving classes. The classes were catered specifically to the classic rear-engine, rear-wheel drive handling of the Porsche 911. The instructors gave good tips on handling the quick onslaught of turbo boost. It was nice to see the Porsches being used to their fullest potential on the racetrack. The Porsches seemed right at home on Summit Point's challenging course. There's been a lot of controversy lately in the news concerning anti-lock braking systems. The proper way to use ABS is to jam on the brake pedal firmly and hold it down. Let the brakes do the work for you. With Summit Point's busy year-round race schedule, they decided to build a new challenging practice course. The Jefferson Circuit is a 1.1-mile, 7-turn course designed to be run in either direction. The Ferrari Club was delighted to have a go at the track. It was great to see the history of Ferrari from the 1958 Testarossa to the recent example. The Ferraris were right at home on the racetrack, being used the way they were meant to be. After all, Enzo built the road cars for the sole purpose of supporting his race team. At the end of the day, the checkered flag seemed fitting for the Ferraris with such a colorful racing history. Every year, the East Coast chapter of the American Lancia Club gathers for the club's annual reunion. Recently, the club congregated at Blackwater Falls State Park in West Virginia. The park is nestled deep within the mountains with many breathtaking views of the falls. After an early meeting, we set out for a great drive on windy mountain roads. Our destination was Seneca Rock, a beautiful natural land formation. It's always fun to gather together with your car club for a nice, spirited drive. So when I heard about the first annual all-Italian vehicle tour hosted by the Mid-Atlantic region of the Ferrari Club of America, I knew I was in for a special treat. From Ferrari to Fiat, Lancia to Lamborghini, Alfa Romeo to Isso, and Di Tommaso to Maserati, most Italian car marques were in attendance. With the addition of Moto Guzzi and Ducati motorcycles, the day was as sweet as the tiramisu that topped off our fantastic meal in Leesburg, Virginia. The day started at the top of the Ritz-Carlton parking garage in Tysons Corner, Virginia. It was great watching so many beautiful cars converging in one area. After everyone had arrived and picked up the well-prepared information and direction packet, we embarked on a wonderful scenic drive. Our first stop was the scenic Lily Ponds Water Gardens. Visitors got a special surprise. With so many beautiful and exotic cars, the grounds resembled a Concorde Elegance. The second leg of our drive gave us the opportunity to engage in more sparsely traveled, windy, and challenging roads. After such a great time at the All-Italian Vehicle Tour, all who participated are sure to be looking forward to next year. Well, I've enjoyed bringing you this episode of Sports Car Magazine for those of you that are just as passionate about sports cars as I am. And we'll see you next time on Sports Car Magazine.